Hello everybody and welcome to today's video where we are going to get creative with interior design. That's right, come with me as we decorate my new house. I am just joking. I know, I'm so sorry. I got your hopes up that we are going to redecorate my apartment for this video, but instead we are going to be drawing on these paint chips and using the color palettes to create something directly on them. By using the blocks of color of these paint samples and maybe taking some inspiration from their silly names, we are going to be creating illustrations directly onto these paint samples. So buckle in and let's get creative. We're drawing on paint chips, which by the way, I didn't even know they were called that. All right, enough joking around. Let's just get right in there and start off with our pink color palette. So the names we have on these three shades of pink are Love Letter, Secret Passion, and Promise of Love. So maybe we can get an illustration that is inspired by some sort of crush. Maybe I can paint a white envelope over this pink bit, but then leave a negative space of the pink in the middle to create a heart sealed envelope, maybe? Wow, I don't know how the human body works. Apparently, okay. Is that how that works? The pink reminds me of cherry blossoms. I wonder if we can get anything really cute, like a cherry blossom. Let's think. Maybe I could use the white to continue down, and these can be branches, maybe? And we can create two characters sitting under the tree. Maybe this could be a pink sunset, and we can have stars up here. But I do want to carry on that theme of love, so let's create a character looking at the sunset. Okay. Let's pretend that this is a montage and this love letter, because we have to stick to our theme, is floating in front of her with the envelope, again, sealed with a heart. Alright, so out of these three ideas, I think I actually really like this cherry blossom setting with our two characters sitting under it with our faded sky. I think that would be really cute, so I think that's what I'm gonna go with, unless I change my mind. On one hand, I really wanted to incorporate those white stripes of the paint chip just to really embrace the, I don't know, white stripeness of the paint chip. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I really did want to embrace that gimmick, but in the end, I was really sold on the cherry blossom idea. I thought it was really cute. I thought it was simple. I thought the gradient sky was just too cute. A cherry blossom tree was too cute to resist, so in the end, that is what I went with. I do have to admit, I went really ham on the stars on this piece. I mean, the stars are maybe out of control. There's just so many stars in the sky, but I think the amount of detail in this piece is just really fun. There's just a lot of stars, there's a lot of details in the leaves in the tree. Maybe just a little bit too much detail because there was so much paint from the pens that it was just, basically it was too much. There was just so much paint layered on the tree that it took a really long time to dry, and it was just so thick that it started to crack. So I went a little too crazy on the layers, trying to really make the shadows and all the different, not leaves, but the petals of the cherry blossom. Either way, I'm really happy with how it turned out, so I guess it was worth it. I think the tree turned out really great, and then when it came down to the figures, the people under the tree, I really wanted to keep them simple because I wanted the focus to be on the tree and all of the petals and the stars in the sky. So when it came to the figures of the people, I kept it really simple. They are just shadows of people, and I think it really worked. It's really simple. There isn't a whole lot of detail where they are just a little too distracting. They are simple enough to where the tree is the main focus, but also enough detail to where they're cute. So there's our first paint chip, our pink one. I thought it would be really fun to create a space scene, and I'm always down to create a space scene. I just really like putting down random stars. I think it's just really fun. I don't know why. I want to get an astronaut in here too. I always seem to create an astronaut. It's always an animal of some sort. What sort of animal should we draw this time? So there it is. We have our cat floating in space. I was also thinking this could be a deep ocean dive illustration. We'll just turn it around there, and should we have a character or someone maybe diving? What is happening? Why am I drawing a horse dive into the ocean, and why does it look like an abomination? What? Have I just suddenly lost the ability to draw? What is happening? Oh my goodness, please forgive me. Let's see, can we do something where it's sideways? What if we did like a spooky forest? Let's just turn our sketch sideways there. So maybe our last panel can be so super dark and scary that all you can see is the blue darkness and the black shadow of the ground. So I don't know what to do. I'm actually really torn between all three of these ideas. They seem really fun, so I might have to give this a little think. This one was so difficult to decide on. I really wanted to create the space theme because, well, honestly, I just really like to create stars and astronauts and planets. I think they're so fun. But in the end, I really liked the sort of story aspect and the, I guess, paneling when it came to the Red Riding Hood sketch. So that is what I ended up going with. I just really liked the fact that even though it didn't completely tell a story, it was just kind of different than my normal art. It was abstract in the sense that it didn't tell a complete story, but at the same time, each little piece was an illustration on its own, even though it was very simple. Not a whole lot of detail went to these illustrations, but as a set, I think they really worked well together. They're very mysterious, they're very dark. You can tell there is a passing of time between each piece because the blues become so much darker. We get a different scale of the character as we zoom in or zoom out, and it's just, there's just something mysterious about this illustration. I really enjoy this piece. It's, like I said, different than what I normally do, and I had a lot of fun with it. We've got storytelling, we've got mystery, we've got a sort of comic book panel feel to it. That is what I love about experimenting with these different ways of illustrating, taking these paint chips and creating illustrations. It's not something I would normally think about, and it's just really fun to experiment, and I really like the results. And hey, let's not forget our little ghost figure. It was sort of a last minute addition. I put the ghost in the sketch in the last panel as a sort of, ooh, look, a spooky ghost. But when I got to the end of this set of illustrations, I thought it would be really cute to have this ghost figure sort of tagging along with Little Red Riding Hood, sort of like a little dog would, I guess. So maybe this little ghost is her pal, and I just think it's a really cute addition, and there it is. There's our Little Red Riding Hood 3 comic panel set. When I see this, I think a sunset or something, a field of flowers. So that's definitely something I'm going to think about. We can always make the sun in this sky an egg, because why not, right? And here in the foreground, we can even have one that has completely hatched, revealing the creature inside, which is just going to be, what did I just draw? It's gonna be a weird wormy bird thing. What is wrong with me today? What? Okay, that idea was really silly. What if we didn't take inspiration from the names, but instead just look at the colors? Nope. What am I doing? What hand is that? I don't even know what's happening. Oh my goodness. That really kind of barely even uses the colors. So we have the yellow of our colors on the flame, and then the yellow of the colors to the opening of the cave, and that could be all that we use. But you know what? I think it's an interesting inspiration thing. Okay, I have no idea what is happening on this first and last sketch, so I think it'd be really fun to play around with a flame and maybe the opening of a cave. I'm not really sure. This idea is just very vague. We're gonna play around with it. So if you couldn't tell from the sketching, I really wasn't sold on any one idea from what I was coming up with. So in the end, I sort of combined the ideas of the second and the third sketch. I went with a cave setting and combined the, I guess, the rock cliff with a creature or a character standing at the end, all dramatic like. And in the end, I think this was a really fun and dramatic illustration. I didn't incorporate the colors of the original paint chip too much. Obviously, it is just a very small opening from the cave, and I added 2 suns attached to the white stripes. I thought that would be a very mysterious sort of addition to this illustration. So it's a world where they have suns, but it's 2 suns, so I guess that's kind of cool. And creating the depth of the cave was really fun, using these cool blue grays to, I guess, kind of complement this yellow-orange color was really nice. I think they worked really well together. This is obviously a very, very simple illustration, but I think the simplicity and the colors and the shapes and space just really help it work. So even though it's simple, I do think it really works, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I am a little sad that I didn't, I guess, to include the yellow of our paint chip too much, but like I said, it's simple, it's effective, I really like the colors, I really like the simplicity, it's dynamic, and we have a unicorn! That's right, I included a unicorn for Junicorn. You didn't think I was gonna forget unicorns, did I? Nope, I didn't. Even though it's kind of silly looking. There it is! Long story short, all the names of these colors are trees, so I thought it'd be really fun to start off with some tree sketches. I wonder if maybe I should do some very bright colored birds. It's been a while since I've drawn my simple styled birds. I think that might be kind of fun. Obviously, we're not going for masterpieces with these illustrations, just something simple and clever to incorporate all of these colors. Let's see, if we turn it around, maybe we can do something like dinosaur bones buried in the dirt. Okay, I'll admit that wasn't the best idea. Let's see. Brown, what's brown? Maybe we can do a nice deserty piece. You know, this one actually might be more fun if I made it more like maybe a human was digging into the dirt. So we have a shovel with a foot on it because they're digging. I mean, we can keep the worm in too. He's a fun little addition. We can show him digging down. But I definitely, if I do this one, I want there to be more details in the dirt, but I can't really think of anything. So I'm kind of thinking it might be really fun to do the tree one. It makes sense because our colors are named after trees, so honestly, that's probably the one that I'm going to go with. If you thought I struggled with the last paint chip, let me introduce to you the brown paint chip. Even though I kind of dove into this piece kind of confident, I, in the end, really struggled with creating an illustration that was not only interesting in composition, but also the subject matter. In the end, this illustration just ended up being basically just a background piece, so I really wanted to focus on the brown and creating trees from the brown color. But in the end, I kind of didn't really think about creating a subject for this piece, and I think that's where this piece really lacks interest, I suppose. There's a lot of trees, sure, they're cute, but there's not really a cute creature. There's not a character, there's not a story, there's nothing that really brings interest in this illustration, so it kind of ended up a little bit on the boring side. I had a lot of fun working on the trees. I think there's a lot of fun details that go into trees as far far as texture with the bark and line work and stuff like that, but it was just lacking not only in character, but also it was really dark, and especially compared to our other pieces, which were a lot more lighter and brighter and more colorful. This brown piece was just kind of sad. So I had a lot of fun creating the trees in this illustration, but at the end I looked at this piece and I thought it really needed a character or just something fun and silly to really bring the attention to it. So after I added all of the stars, which wow, there are a lot of stars in a lot of these illustrations, I added some moss to create texture, but that wasn't enough for me, so I added some little fuzzy red creatures throughout the trees. There's a few of them hidden here and there, just some little red puffballs with some white eyes, just to add a little something to this illustration that was a little character that you could look at and think, aw, that's kind of cute. So it's not a whole lot, but I do think this illustration has a lot of depth, has a lot of detail, and now it has little red fluffy characters. Probably my least favorite of all of these pieces, but I still think I made it work. So let's start off basic. Let's just go ahead and get that fieldy grass out of our system, shall we? To be honest, I'm really not sure what I'm doing, but at the same time, it's really fun to experiment with things that are really flat and don't make any sense in our 3D world. Ooh, but what if we have someone hiking up a mountain? Let's just... kind of similar to what I already drew. I don't know what I keep drawing these weird, mysterious things. I think the theme of this video is just going to be strange mysteries. Okay, let's keep on this simple theme of hilly, green, rolling hills, because for some reason that just seems to be popping into my head a lot. Okay. And then the very back hill, it turns out that our monster guy has monster kittens. Cute. Alright, well, those ideas seem a little bit uninspired compared to the others, but let's just go ahead and see what we come up with. Saving the absolute best for last, this is my favorite piece of all of them. I just think something about it just really worked. I don't know if it's because the colors in the paint chips are bright and colorful and just a lot more inviting than the others, but basically this piece, I don't know what it is about it, but I just think it was the most successful. So all of the sketches were very similar in the sense that they were all rolling hills that just kind of layered over each other, and there wasn't a whole lot of difference between ideas. But in the end, I just wanted to create 3 sets of hills with something different happening on each one. So that is what I ended up going with, even though it wasn't the most exciting idea. Something about it, I don't know, like I said, if it's the simplicity or if it's just the fact that it was so bright and colorful that it just made it a lot more fun. But to be honest, this illustration really isn't that exciting. In the foreground, we have a golf hole with a flag. In the middle hill, we have a giant cat that is looking mischievous. And then in the background, we have just a field of bees and flowers. There's really not that much exciting happening in this illustration, but I think something about the colors that are just so vibrant and fun, the silly cat in the middle, and just the layering of clouds and colors, just, I don't know, something about it is just very fun. It's colorful, it's playful, it's boring when it comes to subject matter, but I really enjoyed this piece, and it's abstract but also illustrative. So in the end, it was just really fun to play around with this really different sort of way to illustrate. I've never thought about illustrations in 3 parts that were also sort of connected in a way, so this was a very experimental video. I really had a lot of fun doing this, and heck, I really enjoyed it. Thank thank you so much for joining me in this experimental video. I had a lot of fun playing around with paint chips, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay golden. But before I go, I want to give a huge thank you to all of my patrons for their support. You guys are seriously amazing. If you want early access to my videos, coloring pages, and more, check out the link to my Patreon in the description. Thank you guys all seriously so much for the support. See you next time.